In addition to the many problems Western Rome faced, the government was failing. The old, strong, efficient government was faced with the many problems associated with the 5th century crisis in the following century, which led to the Western Empire being unable to maintain stability. One major issue the government faced was a lack of support within the Roman population. The major landowners were meant to provide support by paying taxes, avoided them, and the provincial governors were out of the control of the government. As a result, people in general just stopped working, which led to the government's funding being limited. There was also corruption and bribery that were ongoing problems within the government. In response to these problems, the government enforced imperial authority. Taxes were raised and were payable in services, which led to people being locked into a certain job to pay them off. With the lack of money and the failing system, the government was unable to respond to external threats and even to provide men for the military. The Western Romans, with all the issues they were facing, still had one major problem to deal with: demoralization. The Western Roman population became discouraged as more and more problems presented themselves, and their support for the Western Roman Empire stopped or simply decreased dramatically. And this wasn't only in the military. The flawed, corrupt government provided the public with a view of only withdrawn emperors, oppressive officials who seemed to care only for themselves, and cruel imperial authority, which made the public's dedication to the good of Western Rome stop. Of course, with the lack of dedication in the people, it comes as no surprise that Western Rome was no longer able to run efficiently. But why did Western Rome fall while Eastern Rome survived? First of all, the problems that both West and East faced were similar. However, the East had better political stability and a wealthier population, which allowed it to afford a better defense system. The West was more exposed than the East and didn't have the same efficient system of defense because of its extensive frontiers and relative lack of money compared to the East. In addition, the West had heavily relied on barbarians, although they were a threat to the system, which in the end was a big factor in their downfall. Plus, the West faced the full brunt of many military, governmental, and economic factors and was unable to support itself.